Hello, beloveds, and welcome to some real talk with Reverend Amani and our amazing, fierce special guest this evening, Kat Kim, who is a licensed spiritual practitioner. And I am hearing myself talk. Un moment. There we go. Kat Kim is in the house. She is the founder of the School of Divine Confidence. She is a speaker extraordinaire. If you did not get to catch her as our guest speaker on October 4th, go check that out. You are in for a treat. And I'm pumped to be with her tonight. We've gotten a chance to get to know each other since we met at convention in February. And I was like, who is this chick? I want to hang out with her. I'm so glad you get to be with us tonight and do a deep dive in this thing called spiritual consumerism and spiritual nonconformity and how we meet the demand of our time. And before we jump in, I was reading from Mirrored by Stars, God of Love yesterday. And I came across a piece that immediately I thought of you, and I thought, I can't wait to share this with Kat tomorrow night. So here it is.
Yeah.
America is the land of the consumer. Not only do we help ourselves to the largest portion of the earth's resources, while the rest of the world struggles to scrape together the next meal, but we are a culture of dilettantes. We dabble in this religious tradition and that one, chanting Om at the end of yoga class, ordering the latest book on how to cultivate prosperity through positive thinking, signing up for weekend workshops on tantric sex or shamanic journeying. We are conditioned to treat the spiritual life as another commodity, rather than as a discipline of inner transformation with a corresponding commitment to alleviating suffering in the world. Yet, authentic engagement with the perennial wisdom that lies at the heart of the well means we must leap from the lip of the vessel and dive into the unknown.
Ooh, that's good.
Right?
That's good. That's good. And it just gets you right to the soul, you know, it like pierces you, because I practiced consumer spirituality, and I probably still do practice consumer spirituality. I mean, I wrote the essay on it, but it doesn't mean I'm free from it. You know, it's like you constantly have to address your own stuff on this journey.
All the time. And you have to be willing to first see like, oh, where do I practice? Sort of this dabbling version of spirituality, and you know, where am I skimming the surface, and where am I actually signing up for transformation and inner work and showing up as a divine agent of change.
100%. And I think this is the thing. This is what I want to call out is like, if you're gonna say that you're on the spiritual path, and if you really want to call yourself a spiritual leader, those are the things you'll be grappling with. I mean, that's just my stance on it.
Say that again. If you really want to.
If you want to claim that you are a spiritual seeker, if you want to claim that you are a spiritual leader and that you're on the spiritual path, then you will be grappling with these things, because that is where the spiritual journey takes you. The spiritual journey is not about ego-soothing drugs and ego-soothing, you know, manifestations and affirmations that make you feel good in the moment. The spiritual journey is about stripping away the ego, which means stripping away your desires, your attachments to everything around you, including things, including people, including likes and, you know, praise and all of that. That's what the spiritual journey is. It's not fucking, sorry.
Oh, honey, you are in the right place.
Okay. When I'm with you, I'm just like, you know, 100% real. I forgot that we're live right now.
It's all right. It's all good. My people know me.
Okay. Oh my God, I got on a roll and I forget what I'm saying. Anyways, I'm saying like it's an ego releasing journey, and you have to learn how to let go of those attachments to everything around you. And it's hard. It's hard. It's not just rainbows and glitter and seances and, you know, namastes.
Right.
That's a part of it. absolutely joy and bliss and nirvana is a part of the spiritual journey, but also that the shadow side to it is 100% part of that spiritual journey as well. The pain, the suffering, the hardship, the tears, the anger, all of that is part of it.
That's right. Because, we teach wholeness.
Yeah.
Right. We teach that, that perfection, actually translated from Aramaic, means nothing is missing.
Yeah.
It is complete. And that is what we teach as a spiritual principle.
Yeah.
Except most of us walk around trying to cherry pick the stuff that feels good. I don't want my spiritual life to include the dark side. I don't want my spiritual life to include difficult emotions and strife and struggle and shadow. But yet, if we are truly on a spiritual journey and consider ourselves spiritual beings, then we must embrace the totality of spirit, of life.
Yeah. And to point out, I mean, that beautiful introduction with that little piece that you were reading is that because we're Americans, we live in the Western world, we are absolutely a privileged country. And yes, here within America, there's different levels of privilege, but as a whole, it doesn't matter where you are in America, what color skin you have, as a whole, we have much more privilege than underdeveloped countries. That's right. And here, the type of spirituality that we're practicing is this type of consumer spirituality where it's really designed to be a product for privileged, affluent Westerners. And that includes all of us.
That's right. That's right. We have the luxury to buy the feel-good stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right? That's where we find ourselves in this society. We have that luxury.
Yeah.
And so it becomes a choice point to really commit ourselves to the work of spiritual life.
Yes. And for me, that was like the biggest blow, because I realized that I was practicing consumer spirituality and that I was just a privileged, women here in America trying to manifest more money and a nicer house and better car, better body, and all of that, trying to consume as much as I can without any regard to the ramifications of that. Not only was I trying to do that, I was teaching that shit. I was teaching that. Right? I was telling people, this is how you do it. You can have anything in the world that you want. It's very spiritual to want things, and to get it, all you have to do is think positive, so I was teaching that to my students. I was teaching it to, people who are following me, and it sold. It really did. And then when
it's like a drug.
Oh my gosh.
When you first learn these concepts of manifestation, and when you first learn, affirmative prayer, or whatever you learn around creating your life, right? Using spiritual tools.
Yeah.
When you start to see that work in your life, it is fully a drug.
Yeah.
It is, you're like, oh my God, I can control the world.
Yeah.
I can create whatever I want. And then it's all the stuff that we want that's actually coming from our baggage.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's like, I'm going to now prove my worth. I'm now going to prove that I can be cute and skinny and have the best lover and the best bank account. And then I'll prove to the world how good I am.
Yeah.
And manifesting all this stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
And it is a vicious loop to get caught in.
Exactly. Oh my God, girl. This is why we just got each other from like the moment we saw each other, and that's what I addressed in the essay that I wrote about consumer spirituality, is that, it's not our fault. It's not a thing that we should be ashamed about, but we need to have a critical eye. We need to be able to be critical about the system that we are operating in, and to realize that when we are operating in a consumer capitalist culture, everything is commoditized, including spirituality. Everything is packaged and it's sold in a way that makes the most money for the person that's selling it. It's called extractive capitalism.
Right.
So we have to be really aware of that. But here's the key. The way that this system operates and thrives is that it thrives off of our fears and insecurities. So it will highlight our fears and insecurities. It will make us feel fear and insecurity because that's what sells.
That's
right? And so we're caught in that constant loop. And so even though we learn spiritual principles, which is actually a very powerful thing, to move away from feeling like a victim and that you can't do anything in your life to that first phase of like awakening where you're like, oh my God, okay, so I do have choice. Yeah, I can have a say on what I create and the experience that I have. That's really empowering, actually. But if you use those spiritual principles and you constantly get caught in that loop of, oh, I got this thing, oh, but then I'm not having enough. I got this thing and then I don't have enough. I'm not good enough. I'm not pretty enough, blah, blah, blah. When you get caught into that cycle, that's when you have to take a step back and be like, why? Why am I caught in this cycle? What's going on here?
Right, the addiction to fixing ourselves.
Yeah.
Because many of us, even when we first come to these spiritual tools, and one of the reasons often we come to these spiritual tools is because we want to fix ourselves.
Yeah.
You know, we want to make it better. We want to feel better, all of those things. Yeah. But the belief that we are broken is the thing that is driving spiritual consumerism, that is driving us to just pick up tool after tool after tool. Maybe this will work. Maybe this will work. Maybe this will work. If I pray like this, if I study this, if I take that workshop, if I read that book, and the growing awareness, what I believe, get on the path. However you get on the path. I got on the path because I was quite sure I could meditate my way out of suffering.
Yeah.
It was positive that if I just learned to meditate well enough, I would never have a bad feeling again.
Oh, wow. Yeah, totally.
Transcend right above all that shit,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
That got me on my path.
Yeah.
That was the desire. But, once we're on the path, our awareness begins to grow. And if we choose to do that consciously, to grow our awareness, which is kind of the point, we will become aware of how externally focused we are.
Yeah.
And that we are using our spiritual tools as a distractor, as an addiction, as a habit to distance ourselves from life.
Exactly. Yeah. Yep. Constantly giving our power away to what's outside of us and trying to fix, using spiritual tools, trying to fix what's outside of us, more money, better car, whatever, healthier body, whatever. Not that those things are bad, but constantly using spiritual tools to fix those things outside of us, then in order to feel good about ourselves on the inside. And it doesn't work that way. It's because as we know in our spiritual studies and metaphysical teachings, it all starts with who you are and how you're feeling about yourself on the inside. It's that connection to God. It's that fulfillment that you have, knowing that God is your source for all the things, money, happiness, joy, regardless of what's going on in the world outside of you. That is spiritual,
Right, because when you're living outside in, you said you give your power away to all the external circumstances, which now are the boss of you.
Yes.
Like, oh, if this election doesn't go how I want it to go, I'm
yeah. Yeah.
If my partner doesn't do X, Y, and Z, if my bank account doesn't say this amount, whatever it is, if that number on the scale isn't the number, I now am controlled by all of those circumstances, and my experience is controlled by that.
Yeah.
But when we turn that around and live inside out, and all of this perennial wisdom, as Mirabai Starr called it, all of these spiritual truths actually can be our experience.
Yeah.
And the only place we experience them is in our own being.
Yeah.
Which means we have to go in and allow that to inform what's happening out here.
That's right. Yep. 100%. It's an inward journey. The spiritual journey is an inward journey, and how you're going to change your relationship to yourself and to God. That's what it is. It's not about an outward journey where you're going to change your relationship to things outside of you. I like what you said, when we give our power away, those things become the boss of us. They literally do. They're like, you are going to feel shitty today because you don't weigh 150 pounds. Boom. Right? You are going to feel like a loser today because you didn't make $10,000 this month. It's literally the boss of us.
Exactly.
And that's just such a powerless place to live. And, you and I talk about this, and it's like really, when people are listening, they're like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. But when you're in the moment, you're not aware that that's actually happening. Because I have those moments still all the time. I still have bosses outside of me. I talk about this stuff and I'm like inner power and all that. But let me tell you, I still have bosses outside of me that repeatedly tell me on a day-to-day basis, you're going to feel bad today because you didn't do this thing. And I'm like, oh, damn it. And then, but that's what the spiritual journey and the practices is about. It's like, okay, there's that boss again. And I need to go back to my real creator boss, like God.
And that's how simple actually spiritual practice is, what you just said, is having awareness. Like, ooh, there's my boss. I just let that boss me.
Yeah.
What awareness is, when we talk about awareness and consciousness.
Yeah.
That is all we're talking about.
It's so simple. Yeah. It's just a moment to moment thing. Yeah. I love what you're saying. I think, you're so right. And when we talk about awareness, it's like this ethereal kind of thing you can't really pinpoint. But it's actually just a thing in the moment.
Exactly.
And you're going to lose it. And then it comes again in the next moment.
Yeah. And then you just continue to cultivate that awareness.
Yeah.
That's all, and that's it. And you just keep coming back. I feel like really what practice is about is the commitment to come back.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's just a commitment that I am willing to commit myself, that when my attention goes out here and I start identifying who I am with what's happening out here, I commit to coming back to what is.
Yeah.
And that's actually why I challenged our community to go on a manifestation fast this month.
Ooh, yeah.
And it was really about, let's take our attention away from all the stuff we're trying to control out here or bring forth. Yeah. And bring our attention back. Yeah. And spend 3 days in a row committed to that.
Oh, I love it. You know what that made me think is that, it's not like, the real key to a manifestation fast is not the act of, I'm not going to do this thing. It's actually, if you think about it, it's actually about affirming and realizing that you actually have everything you need and desire in this moment, right here, right now. And therefore, you don't need to do a manifestation thing or visualization or anything. It's actually just claiming and acknowledging, affirming the truth of which all of us have access to, is that we are already whole. That's in right. This moment.
You could say that 10 times. We are already whole.
Right? There's
nothing to buy. There's nothing. There's no thing that you have to have that's going to complete you.
Oh, you know how powerful that is? Do you know that would turn the consumer capitalist culture on its head? It would shut the industries down.
Yes.
It really would. And that's what they don't want. That's what they don't want. That's what they do not want. Right. And so therefore, that's vicious cycle.
Right. Which is why I love, I think sometimes in spiritual communities, and I know you've run into this in Science of Mind and New Thought, is we see ourselves as like, we are peace and love, and we are not confrontational.
Yeah.
All the things, right? It's like we don't want to rock the boat often in spiritual, but if you are really practicing these spiritual principles of wholeness and perfection right now, and that everything that you are is already divine, that itself is a radical, rebellious, non-conformist practice.
Yes, that's, oh man, you just preached to me. I love it. That's what it is. It's radical, it's non-conformist. It is exactly like you are not conforming to that world out there that tries to convince you again and again that you're powerless and that you need something, buy something in order to feel okay.
And it's, I remember I traveled a lot in my 20s. And I was living in overseas, and it was this huge aha I had, that I realized that I had been living in a country and was raised in a society that did not value my life and did not value anybody's life. The value was placed on you based on what you produced.
Right.
Yep. And I realized that from like some simple stuff, like what we allow in our food, what we allow in our soils, just simple FDA regulations that are never allowed in any other country except ours. And I realized, oh, that's because my life is not valued. What is valued is what I'm able to produce. And if I am not producing, if I am not a cog on the wheel of that, productivity achievement machine, then I am not valued, period.
That's the consumer capitalist culture. We are designed to produce and produce and produce and consume and consume and consume. The minute that we stop doing that, the industries will collapse. And that's terrifying to industry, the people at the top of the industry. And that doesn't mean that, that capitalism or that businesses, that they all have to go away. It's not about that. But there's that element of extractive capitalism, where people are trying to produce and consume as much as they can. And that's coming from a place of scarcity and separation in the first place. Right.
And it's also coming from a lack of awareness. Right. We participate most of the time unknowingly. And it's like, and again, that's why spiritual practice is so critical. This idea of a world that works for everyone, this is just not about painting a pretty picture of lovely community. It's literally about awakening our consciousness and our awareness to our inherent value. And when we do that, it will naturally change how we move in the world and what we choose to participate in. Which means that when you know your value, when you really know what you are and who you are as a divine, already good and whole person, then there's a whole bunch of shit you will not do.
I love that. And that's the relationship with God. That's the relationship with spirit. I remember when I did an interview of you a couple months ago, and you were, I forget what the question was, but I think I was asking you, what do you say to the people who have baggage around God? And you were like, get over it.
Pretty much.
Get over that shit. You got to get over it. I love that. I was like, oh my God, so true.
Anything that is in the way. Anything that is in the way, and we all have different stuff in the way. But anything that is in the way to our experience of divinity must get out of the way. And so if you have stuff around somebody saying the word God, and now that is in the way of you having an aha or being able to hear wisdom, get it out of the way.
Oh, that was so good. That was so good. But that just goes back to the point around knowing that you are an expression of God itself. And what is God? God is all. God is unconditional love. God is infinite knowledge. God is endless power. God is your source for all things. And when you really let that sink in and you embody that, then you have the God within you, living inside of you, speaking through you, acting through you, feeling through you, and you're already complete, you're already whole, you're already perfect. And it just, like, your whole experience of the world changes. And by the way, you're going to step out of that, and then you're going to return, right? Because it's
you come back.
Yeah, you come back.
And you come back again, and you come back again.
Again and again and again, multiple times a day, probably.
Yes.
If you have a partner, it's going to be like twice as much. It's like again and again and again. And it's that powerful, though. It's a reminder that you don't have to fix anything outside of there. You don't have to fix anybody out there. You just have to return to that truth. And that's why that spiritual practice is so important. A real dedicated spiritual practice, I think, my spiritual practice has evolved because I was practicing consumer spirituality. So it was about visualizing this and having that, but it's really now evolved to like this communion with God, like understanding who God is, what God is, the feeling of God. And every time I do that, it's like so mind-blowing. It's so beautiful. It's like the love of my life. I'm like, oh my God, who are you? Like
it's like it is the thing that every love song has been written about. It is the thing that we're always after.
Yeah.
And when we think that we're going to get that kind of longing met by anything outside of us,
Yep.
it's just a falsehood. And
100%.
when we begin to meet that, when we begin to meet God, where the only place where we can in our own selves, and the kind of falling in love that happens with our own selves. Like, I just want that for everybody.
I know.
It's so good.
I know. It's so sweet. It's just so precious. Yeah. I love these conversations.
I'm going to hop onto the comment feed. Y'all, I got to get my readers on so I can see what you're saying.
I'm trying to see you guys on here. I don't see it on the
All right, I see Scott Miller saying, great stuff. Time for CSL folks to let it rip. Bring our wisdom into the wide world and really set the stage for major change. Amen, Scott. You want to speak to that? Because Scott, I will tell you, I see Kat Kim as one of the voices of our movement who's going to do that.
Oh my gosh. So it's kind of scary to feel that and to see that, because I feel the calling to that as well. But what I talked about in our talk and what Ernest Holmes says is that we have to listen to the demand. There is a demand out there. There's a demand. And who are we if we are not servant leaders and serving that demand? Who are we to ignore that demand? And we should be listening to the demand of those who are suffering the most, not just, right? Like not to a segment of the population that's just kind of has few demands. No, we need to be inclusive, and we need to be going to the very, very depths and the lengths of the people who are suffering the most, and listening to what they want and what they need. And as spiritual leaders and as a center, if we don't do that, then what are we? Hello, what's the point? Yeah, and I've had my criticisms of this organization. I know this is a safe place, so I'm just gonna lay it out there, like.
You are here, honey.
Like, we need to be at the forefront of this movement if we're going to survive as an organization. First of all, because if y'all haven't noticed yet, this country, the world right now is quickly shifting. Ain't nobody going to wait around for an organization who's still trying to figure out their stance on social issues. No.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
Ain't nobody got time for that anymore. It's done and over. It's done and done. I'm sorry. So if we're gonna surpass these challenges, and if we're gonna be real leaders in this movement, then we need to be at the leading edge. We are the impulsion of love. That's what Ernest Holmes says. We are the impulsion of love, and the impulsion of love does not spend time catching up. The impulsion of love leads the way. The impulsion of love leads the way. That's what love does. And so how are we going to show up as that impulsion of love every single day on an individual basis, but also as a group and as a community? And then if we really want to stretch ourselves as an organization, how do we do that?
And again, it comes back for me, and for those of you on the comment feeds, feel free to pop questions or comments in, and I will do my best to track those. But as an impulsion of love, there is no other possibility but rising to the occasion, because that's what love does. That's what love does. And so for me, it keeps coming back to, if you are not deeply committed to your practice, if you are not willing to leave the surface and dive deep, that impulse of love may not even be discernible.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And which is, why sometimes I feel like as a minister, sometimes I'm begging, like, do your practice.
Yeah.
But that's why. It's because when we are daily committed to coming back, to coming back, to coming back, that's how we begin to discern and to experience the impulse of love that always knows what to do.
I wonder if it's discernible by your lack of unfulfillment in life.
Ooh, say more.
I'm wondering if we are not rising up and leading the way and being the impulsion of love, I wonder if the way that we know that is that we're simply unfulfilled in life. There's something missing. There's something missing because we're not answering the call.
So if you are having the experience of unfulfillment, unsatisfied, malaise, blasé, whatever that may be, could that be a flag?
Yes.
Could that be a flag that there is an impulse you are not paying attention to?
I'd say 100% that's a flag. Ladies and gentlemen, that's a goddamn flag. It's a red one. A flag, let me tell you.
You might call that a flag.
Yeah. So this is what Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. says. He says, he calls them the 3 dimensions of life. And he says that if a person is not fulfilled in these 3 dimensions, then they are unfulfilled in life. And a person needs to be fulfilled in 3 different dimensions in order to have a fulfilling life. I call them the 3 pillars of divine confidence. So first pillar is the pillar of self-actualization. Okay. Dr. Martin Luther King called it the length of life. This is your individual, unique aspirations. It's all about your personal desires, your own way that you are individuated in this world, the way that you like to express, how far you're going to go in life according to your own personal goals. Is that to make money? Is that to have a family? Is that to have a nice house? No shame on that, right?
Right. Whatever your desire is, your unique.
Personal desire. And by the way, it has to be only personal to you and not your families. I know mothers.
Again, say that again.
Right. Mothers, y'all have this idea that, your needs are your kids' needs, or your kids or your family's needs are your needs. No. You have your own unique desires and needs, and they're completely separate from your families and your kids. And FYI, on that note, your kids have their own desires and needs, which are completely separate from yours. So get out of their life. Get out of their business.
As a mama, that is my greatest practice. Just get out of the way.
Yeah, just get out of the way. So that's pillar 1. And pillar 2 is the pillar of social responsibility. Dr. Martin Luther King called this the breadth of life. The breadth of life.
Love that.
This is so good, right? And it's all about not your unique needs, not what's going to satisfy your desires, but what about the collective? How are you going to show up for the collective? Are you listening to the demand of the collective, of the society? Are you connected? Like what's your divine contribution to the culture, your neighbor, your country, and the world around you? That's the second pillar.
Your divine contribution.
Yeah.
Which is what creates the breadth of life.
Yeah, it's the breadth
of life. I love that.
It has nothing to do with your needs. You already have that. You got that in pillar 1. Pillar 1's all about you.
Actualization.
Yeah,
that's
you. That. Yeah. Pillar 2 is the breadth of life, which is the pillar of social responsibility or service or divine contribution is what I call it.
I love it. Divine contribution. That's such a great phrase.
I know, I love it too. And then pillar 3 is your relationship to spirit. And Dr. Martin Luther King, he called it the height of life. I know. I know. It's the constant upward reach towards God, towards our creator, towards spirit, to cultivating that relationship, that you do not do anything in this world by yourself. You are hand in hand with God itself.
It is not possible.
It's not possible.
It's not possible to be somehow separate from God. That is crazy in our head.
It's just that it's a moment of forgetfulness, that we are separate, that we are separate each other, that I'm separate from you. I mean, or that we're even separate from, the opposite political party or whoever. Like that's it's a moment of forgetfulness. But truly, that third pillar, and this is about, it's going back to what you and I were talking about in the beginning of this talk, is that relationship with spirit, that spiritual practice, the communion, the devotion to God, and cultivating that powerful, powerful relationship, allowing God to co-create with you, to guide you, to show you every step in the moment that step is ready to be taken, and knowing and surrendering that you don't have to know the second and third and fourth and the 10th and the 100th step at all. In fact, you shouldn't know. You shouldn't know.
No.
Because God has
plans. Called walking by faith, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Walking by faith.
Yeah. And God has plans for you that you can't even fathom right now. You can't even fathom. So Dr. Martin Luther King said that you need to be fulfilled in all three of these dimensions. And I was like, oh my God, like in this crazy thing.
So the dimension of self-actualization,
the pillar of self-actualization,
okay,
the pillar of social responsibility, the pillar of relationship to spirit.
All right, these are the three
things. And what I'm saying is divine confidence lies at the intersection of all three of these pillars. So what I'm saying is you need all three. You cannot go without one or the other. Otherwise, you're going to feel unfulfilled. Otherwise, you are not answering the call to love. You are not being the compulsion of love, the impulsion
it's like
of love.
A stool without one of its legs.
Exactly. Yeah.
Can't function, can't be its best self.
Yep. Something's going to be off. You're going to feel that. You're going to feel unfulfilled. There are people who are great servants to God, right? But they don't take care of themselves. Something's missing.
That's right.
And then we have a bunch of people who take care of themselves very well, but don't serve. Right. Something's missing. And then there's people who take care of themselves well and serve, but they don't have a relationship to God. Something's missing. So it's that combination, I think, is
I love it. I love it. All right. So I know we are going to wrap up in the next 5-ish minutes or so. But before we do, I want to know how people can connect with you, because your work is so powerful and what you are inspiring people to achieve in such a love-centered way, right? A God-centered way.
Yeah.
Because there's a difference between achieving out there because you are trying to prove something to somebody or prove your worth to yourself, and achieving from this place of the three pillars of actually doing work in the world that is all three of those things.
Yeah, that's actually what I created, the School of Divine Confidence, where I teach people how to overcome their fears and insecurities and really create and get clear on what their calling is based on those three pillars. That's the framework for divine confidence that I help people get really clear on. Okay, what is your calling in these three areas? And when you combine those, that is the ultimate calling, and it's beyond what we can ever think or imagine.
That's when we're God powered and unstoppable.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's what I offer coaching and my services on. I'm having a free training on the Divine Confidence Masterclass, where I'll go over these three pillars in more detail. I think you're going to provide links. That's all there. But come find me in the Confident Leadership community on Facebook. That's the easiest way.
Guys, check Kat Kim out at the Divine Confidence. Say it again.
Come find me in the Confident Leadership community.
Confident Leadership community here on Facebook.
Yep.
Masterclass coming. Tell us again when.
October 28th. October 28th. If you come into the fastest way is to just come into the Facebook group, the Confident Leadership community Facebook group, and there will be a prompt there for you to enter your email so that you could be invited into the workshop as well. And
we're going to share that as well on our page, you guys, the masterclass and some of those details, but check her out. And you can also find her at our website, katkim.com. And and if you're ready to take that leap and you're really ready to do your work in the world, God powered, I highly recommend Pat. I can't think of a better coach to have on your team.
Thank you. Thank you.
I've had so much fun hanging out.
I can't believe that time goes by that quickly. I feel like we should do this on a regular basis, sister. I feel
that's coming. I think that's coming because I am having too much fun. All right, I'm going to shout out. We've got the last comment I am seeing right now from Mickey Quintana. First of all, she has an amen shout, and then, ooh, that is a thought to ponder. And I know which one she's talking about when determining if you are unfulfilled.
Oh,
that might be a flag. So thank you, Mickey. I know you are going to take that into ponder because I know that you will. And I just wanted to shout out some other folks with us. Nancy's in the house. Emmanuel, thanks for being here. It's good to see you, Guy. Rosandri in the house. Scott's in the house. You guys, I should have my readers on. Let's see. We got Gail in the house and Kelly and Paul. It was so awesome having you all with us today. Hey, Steve. And just know that I'm going to be doing more of these conversations as time moves on, and who knows what Kat and I will come up with, and we'll keep you posted.
I'm so excited. Thanks, everyone.
All right. I love you all so much. Blessings.